Hey, what's up, guys? Dragon here with
Ashley?
Welcome back to another edition of the Kaiju Cataclysm. Today we are talking at long last about Godzilla vs. Kong in 2020. Last I heard, that is the working title. I don't know if they're going to change the Godzilla vs. King Kong, Godzilla vs. Kong, some kind of subtitle name, or they're
Yeah.
going to have a completely different name. But right now, the name that is kind of being circulating around the internet is Godzilla vs. Kong, which I figured that's simple enough to remember. Why fuss with it, since that's what people are going to call this movie anyway? And it's going to be coming up hot on the heels of Godzilla King of the Monsters, which comes out in May 2019. So right now, King of the Monsters has just finished post production, so the movie is completely done. And Godzilla vs. Kong is currently filming in Hawaii. It's going to be filming in multiple places around the world, one of which is Australia. But right now, set photos of like Millie Bobby Brown filming it have just kind of surfaced. So they're making it right now, and not much is known. But recently, we did get a plot synopsis, which you guys can follow along on screen right now. But yeah, it gave us kind of our first kind of clues to what this movie is really about. So the description is as follows: in a time when monsters walk the earth, humanity's fight for its future sets Godzilla and Kong on a collision course that will see the two most powerful forces of nature on the planet collide in a spectacular battle for the ages. As Monarch embarks on a perilous mission into uncharted terrain and unearth clues to the Titan's origins, a human conspiracy threatens to wipe the creatures, both good and bad, from the face of the earth forever. So right off the bat, well, we kind of know that this movie is more than just going to be a slugfest between kind of Godzilla and Kong. That's going to be kind of the well, actually, it's gonna be like that's gonna be like the plot in the foreground.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna sell tickets. It's people seeing these two very iconic monsters duke it out. But why they're duking it out and why they're there to begin with, it seems like there's more going on. And in the original King Kong versus Godzilla, these monsters were kind of pitted against each other on purpose. Godzilla had resurfaced and it had come back to Japan. And a company, I think it was a pharmaceutical company, I think it was a pharmaceutical company, wanted to bring Kong back and basically kind of use him as like a marketing stunt. And then they were basically saying, okay, well, he got away and he's making his way to Japan. Honestly, let's kind of get these two together and fight. And with any luck, one will destroy the other, or they'll just kill each other. But either way, it's still going to be better than both of them being at large. So they were kind of in a roundabout way pitted against one another. So I kind of like how in that film, the plot was to kind of do what the studio wanted to do, is put these two monsters together to fight in a movie because they knew audiences were really going to see that. And I like how they kind of worked that in the plot. We're like, well, we got two giant monsters. What do we do? Well, let's make them fight because that can solve it. Let them fight. So it seems like something similar is going to be happening in this film. But with this, and again, I like how they said they're going to see the kind of the origins of these monsters, which different Godzilla continuities, there's different origins. So I'm very curious to kind of see how they're going to explain the evolution of the Titans, which is what they're called now in this continuity, how they came about to be. But I'm also curious to see what this human conspiracy that could wipe them out forever is. And I know that Michael Dougherty, the writer and director of Godzilla King of the Monsters, tweeted out a photo early in production of the Oxygen Destroyer, which was, for you guys don't know, is a weapon or something that became weaponized by Dr. Serizawa in the original 1954 Gojira. And essentially that's what was used to destroy him. And it was something that he basically said he only wanted to use once, because once the world sees what it can do, governments of the world are going to try to use it as a weapon. So he deployed it once, only made one, and killed himself while using it. So no one, even his knowledge of it,
and destroyed all of his work.
Yeah, everything, including himself. He wanted no record of how this technology came to exist. Even though then, 30-something years later, in 1995, another scientist kind of uncovered it or something similar, only to find out that the deployment of the Oxygen Destroyer had made Dr. Serizawa's worst fears come true, mutated life like the atomic bomb did with Godzilla, and created a new monster called Destroyer, which was even more powerful than Godzilla. So there's been a lot of speculation that we're going to see another big monster in Godzilla vs. Kong. They've already said they're not going to be the only two.
Yeah.
That we're going to be seeing, it's going to be a world that's being overtaken by kaiju, by titans. So, but a lot of people are thinking that we're going to still see one more big bad. Because at the end of the day, I know a lot of people want to see Godzilla like fight King Kong, but for me as a kaiju fan, King Kong is not as cool or threatening as King Ghidorah. Like, which is always weird to me. It's like, to me, I always feel like Godzilla versus King Kong should come first.
Yeah.
And then you have the film with King Ghidorah, because I'm like, at the end of the day, King Ghidorah is going to be way more powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Or should be way more powerful than King Kong. I don't want to see... I don't want them to make King Kong too powerful, because then it just feels like a cheat. Because ultimately it's like, as it is, King Kong...
One's a giant golden lightning,
Dragon.
And the other's just a big gorilla.
And I get it. People like it. King Kong is iconic.
I mean, King Kong's cool. I get it. But
he's a big ape.
One next to a three-headed golden dragon shooting lightning?
I'm just like, yeah. And at the end of the... Again, and the other thing that... I mean, I'm excited for this movie, but one thing I sound so stupid and fanboyish, so I'm sorry. I'm also a little worried because one of the things I initially was saying, like, they're gonna do a thing where they're gonna slug it out, and then a bigger, worse monster gonna show up, and Godzilla and Kong gonna team up and beat the hell out of this monster. And I still think that's gonna happen. But one thing that Adam Wingert, the director of this film, has said is that he wants there to be a clear winner.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people still go back and forth on who won that fight in '62, and people felt kind of unsatisfied with it because again there wasn't a clear victor. It's because King Kong versus Godzilla, and who won? You know what I mean? It's like, I know technically if you go by the script, Kong won, but at the end of the day, you see Kong. They both dive in the water, and Kong comes back up. But I've always said too, well, A, Godzilla breathes underwater, and B, they dropped right down off the cliff, and you see Kong pop up like thousands of yards away and then swim away. So for all you know, Godzilla's just right there looking at Kong like, what? And Kong is retreating. Again, that's one take, and I know a lot of other people are going to say you're just a Godzilla fanboy. No, Godzilla swam off and you saw Kong. But that's the thing. The reason why you have so many back and forths is because they didn't give you a specific answer. And one of the big reasons why is because, A, at the end of the day, even though Kong was more popular in Japan, they also knew that they only had a limited lease on Kong, and if they wanted to keep making kaiju films, Godzilla was going to be the one they had to do it with. So they didn't want to just outright get rid of Godzilla. Fast forward.
Words.
Away. To 2020, and the reality is, and I know there can be people who disagree, but the reality is, Godzilla is a bigger star than King Kong. More people in the world like Godzilla than King Kong. And for those of you who like King Kong more, I'm not saying that diminishes your love for him. If Kong is your guy, you don't care if you're one of 5 people who like King Kong more. He's your guy, and I get that. But when you're a studio, you have to make sure these films make money. That's your first. You want to make a fun, entertaining movie, but you have to also play it safe in a way where you can't make a decision that's going to be too controversial or make a decision that's going to kind of piss people off. And, they poll people, they talk to people, and the majority of the people say, yeah, they want to see Godzilla win. And again, I know there's a lot of people out there who say, nope, King Kong should win. And yes, but the reality is there are less of those people than the other one. So if they make a film, and again, I know they said 3 films for this, Monster vs. Godzilla series, but ultimately, if these movies make a lot of money, Legendary is going to want to keep making them. So they're going to want to basically play these movies safe and, make sure they're not pissing audiences off. I mean, we're going to say something very controversial right now. We actually liked The Last Jedi, and I know we're like apparently the only 2 people, you, me, and our friend Chris, who does a lot of the commentaries with us, are the only 3 people on planet Earth who liked that movie. And one of the big complaints people had of that movie is their portrayal of Luke Skywalker. Now, I liked Luke Skywalker because I never could relate to Luke because he was always the boy on the farm, super optimistic, we can overcome anything. And that's a good hero. I can't relate to that guy. I'm the guy like, nope, shit happens. Sometimes the sky's cloudy and gray, and sometimes things don't just work out. So in Last Jedi, when he was a big buzzkill, I was like, wow, Luke Skywalker, I get you, man. But that also meant that everybody else who had liked Luke Skywalker didn't like him. So the reality is, if the studio asked me what they should do, I would have said, yeah, I like that Luke Skywalker. But all the rest of you would have been like, we hate that, and the studio should listen to all of you, not the 3 of us, because we are the minority. So even though we walked away from that movie going, that was good.
Let's just stay on topic here with Godzilla versus King Kong and not devolve into Last Jedi.
No, but my point is, it's
just saying.
even though we liked it, we also, if I was a studio head and I was reading the script, I probably would have been like, listen, I think this is cool, but the majority of the fan base is not going to like this, and we're going to alienate a large part of the fan base. So we have to go. It becomes a numbers game. You have to play the majority rule. So yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people who would say, you know what, King Kong came first, the 30s. He was, a big inspiration for the original Godzilla. Kong goes even further back in history. And when Godzilla and Kong first faced off, Kong was the bigger monster. But you guys just remember, that was only Godzilla's third film.
It's weird.
I know.
When you think about it.
The first time both had ever been seen in color, too. But since then, the Kong franchise has been far and few, very sporadic, but not a lot of continuity.
And I was going to say, were they planning... I can't remember now. I'm sure you've told me. But did they plan on making Skull Island before Godzilla was a success?
No.
So they only made it because of that, right?
Kind of. I mean, they knew they were going to want to do a trilogy of Godzilla films, but before they greenlit 2 and 3, they wanted to see how the first one did good, and then the producer of the MonsterVerse at the time, whose his name escapes me, I'll pop it up on the screen right now, was a big fan, and finally said, okay, you know what? I want to try to get King Kong. Because Universal was planning, Legendary was going to be producing a new King Kong movie, Skull Island, with Universal. And that was in the early stages of the script. And finally, it's like, well, why don't we just tie this in to this universe? And then,
so they were planning it?
They were planning a King Kong movie, but it
wasn't tied in.
Yeah, and that's so they kind of we could tie this in because it takes place in the 70s. It's earlier, so we could maybe work this in. And Universal didn't want to do that because they weren't distributing the film, so they weren't going to make it really as much money off that. So then they let Warner Brothers take the rights to that. So they kind of, after the fact, and granted, at the end of the day, the average person knows more about King Kong than they do King Ghidorah.
But I feel like that's a lot just because... I mean, obviously, but what was it, 2003, Peter Jackson? Was it
2005?
I don't know, sometime, early 2000s.
But Kong is more... Because Kong has been a part of the kaiju, universe, but he's also existed outside of it too. Kong is more...
Well, he's known to the Western audiences way more.
Yeah, I mean, again, his first film was not a kaiju film.
Yeah.
He wasn't a kaiju till '62 when he fought Godzilla. Then he had King Kong Escapes, but beyond those films, he's never been a kaiju. Yeah. He's been a big animal, but he's never been a kaiju. So he's known in both audiences, kind of both fandoms. Whereas someone like King Ghidorah, to a Godzilla fan or just a kaiju fan, King Ghidorah is like... But if you're just talking to Joe Schmo on the street,
but at the same time,
they don't know who King Ghidorah is.
I'm kind of like, if you just see... I mean, everyone knows Godzilla one way or another, whether it's the 98 movie or, the Japanese movies.
They know a lot of the kind of visual iconography of it.
But I'm like, again, maybe I'm just biased, but I'm like, wouldn't it be way cooler to see a 3-headed golden dragon than a big gorilla?
Well, and again,
I know everyone knows
King Kong.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, though.
I guess it just ultimately depends on the person.
I guess so. But also, too, after this movie, King of the Monsters, now the general Western audience is going to know who King Ghidorah is. So that might change now.
The first time they know, or they're like, oh shit, he looks badass.
Yeah, which a lot of people were familiar with the character because they recently had Tokyo Comic Con where they revealed the SH Monster Arts figures, and you see your first clear look at what King Ghidorah looks, along with Mothra and Rodan, and kind of the updated design for Godzilla. They tweaked a few things in the design. His feet are more defined now. They look like less elephant-like, and his spines have more of the maple leaf design. But, ultimately, it's still the 2014 design. Oh, and his tail's shorter.
Yeah.
It doesn't go to that really fine point anymore. It's a little bit more rounded off, looking more like the more traditional one, I guess. But for instance, we don't know what Kong is going to look like. Because obviously Kong is going to be older.
Yeah.
We also don't know how big he's going to get. We know he's going to get bigger, but we don't know how big. And it's a fair bet to say he's probably going to be smaller than Godzilla. I mean, even in '62, he was smaller. Godzilla was more... It's basically if you watch Rocky IV, when Rocky...
It almost comes back to Rocky!
It always comes back to Rocky, goddammit! But when you see Rocky facing off against... I guess now we can say Creed too, when, Adonis Creed is facing off against Victor Drago. But here is this one guy, very good fighter, scoring off against a larger, more powerful opponent. And it's kind of that thing where it's like Kong has always been kind of...
It's like speed versus strength sort of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Again, Kong has always been depicted as more of the underdog because Godzilla's a powerhouse. But with that said, Godzilla is the king of the monsters. Godzilla is Godzilla. I mean, Godzilla is kind of a... Godzilla can't be defeated that way because what he represents. He represents an unstoppable force.
And then Godzilla versus King Kong, or like the original one, like I forget, they gave Kong like electricity powers, right?
Yeah, Kong was. Well, not only did they give Kong electricity power,
Godzilla was somehow
weak to electricity. Even though in '54 you see him just going through power lines, like just going. Those power lines that were erected to stop his assault. And it's that famous scene where you see him just going through them like no problem. And then in King Kong versus Godzilla, he goes up that power line.
Oh no!
Touches one. Ow! Oh, I guess I better walk by. Even though, again, we saw like 2 movies ago, he just went through. So they had to basically, to make that fight work, they have to give Kong a new power, make him bigger, and then water down Godzilla. Because the Godzilla that had already been established would have been too powerful for King Kong.
Unless Kong's gonna somehow get electricity powers from Skull Island, between then and now.
And even still, this Godzilla took a nuke to the face, point blank range. The opening credits of 2014 shows Godzilla going up to eat a hydrogen bomb and exploding in his face, and apparently, he just shrugged that shit off.
It's like a bath bomb for him.
Yeah, and he's fighting King Ghidorah. Like, I don't want to see a continuity where King Kong is stronger than King Ghidorah. That just seems weird to me. King Ghidorah is like, it's kind of like if you... I mean, I guess he could be... He's kind of like Doomsday to Superman. He's a big deal. Like, when they announced... For those of you guys who may not be familiar with, like, the Godzilla franchise, when they announced that King Ghidorah was going to be in this movie, that was a huge deal. This wasn't just, one of the classic... No, this was the monster.
Godzilla's big bad.
Yeah, this was a big deal. And this is a monster that, Godzilla fans are way more enthralled with than King Kong. King Kong is iconic, I think, to the general audience. But for us, King Ghidorah is like, holy shit. So if Godzilla somehow dispatches King Ghidorah, I don't want Kong to beat him. Because I'm going to feel like, Kong is beating him because...
The story needs him to.
He has to be the good guy. Because in all these movies, the primate, if something has scales and the other has fur, we automatically have to make the furry thing the good guy. Because apparently people can relate to like a 150-foot ape. He's more like us. No, he's not more like you. He's a giant gorilla that swats helicopters out of the sky. That's not like you. You don't do that. Just because he can kind of smile with his mouth doesn't make him anything like you. So no, you cannot relate to King Kong more. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where I think the way to do this is that Kong is he's more intelligent fighter, and I think Godzilla is more or less like a seek and destroy. So I think
he's more instinctual, I think.
Yeah, because he is kind of evolved to be this, this great equalizer. Because you see, like, if you like the Monarch, like, Twitter website where you can track Godzilla, and he circles Skull Island, where he knows Kong is. He circles Antarctica, where he knows King Ghidorah. You see him circling all these other places where the other kaiju. It's like Godzilla's monitoring the world. He's like the warden. He knows about King Kong. He's not going to be sorry. Yeah, he knows Kong's there. And King Kong was keeping to himself, doing his thing, not acting up. Godzilla's fine. Yeah, you go ahead and be the king of Skull Island. I'll let you have that. Just don't step...
I'm the king of the world.
Yeah, basically. Just don't step out and start acting a fool. That's when I have to step in and handle you. But as long as you're there, you can beat up skull crawlers as much as you want. I don't give a shit. That's you. That's small time to me. I'm fighting 3-headed dragons. You're fighting weird lizards without back legs. I don't give a shit. You go ahead and do that.
They're like giant tadpoles.
Yeah, basically. So, but I kind of think the way they need to do this, like, Godzilla and Kong are going to fight. And I think in a straight-up brawl, Godzilla is going to win, or should win. Because I think at the end of the day, no matter how scrappy or strong Kong is, Godzilla is just physically superior. You can hit him 1,000,000 times. He gets one good shot on you. It's going to be like, oh, shit, ow.
Well, he doesn't use a punch. He's got his fucking atomic breath.
Well, but I'm just saying, too, again, going back to, like, the new Creed movie where you saw Adonis comes in, bam, bam, bam. It lands like 5-6 shots on Victor, who stands like 1.5 feet tall, then boom, 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 and then Victor hits him one time, and Adon is just like, you know, like that one punch packed more power than like his 6 punches. I know, right? That's how Godzilla wins. But I think what's going to happen.
Well, and again, I think one of the biggest things with King Kong is again his intelligence and like him using tools like he did in the end of the movie against the Queen Skullcrawler, whatever, the giant one, where he used like the fucking whatever.
The tree.
The tree and
the
chain
raw,
and like
again,
the fucking
she
propeller.
Because she was stronger than he was. She was chucking him around, but he was smarter than her. He's like, okay, I can't beat you just physical brawn.
But I can use stuff against you.
Exactly. Yeah. I think what's going to happen, I think the way they should do it, especially if they introduce another kaiju that they have to fight together. First fight, I think it needs to be like it was in 62. Godzilla win. And Godzilla whooped Kong's ass pretty bad. It really was just the end of the fight when he got struck by lightning and then the Deus Ex Machina ending happened. But for the most of the fight, Godzilla was the powerhouse. He was beating Kong. I think the straight up battle, Godzilla's going to be trying to go all over the world, handle all these kaiju himself, like he's always done. He's going to face Kong. He's going to beat Kong. Not going to kill him, but he's going to beat him. And then he's going to have to then go up against a monster that is way more powerful than him, even more powerful than King Ghidorah, which brings the question is, could it be Destroya? But let's just say they did something like that. They bring a monster like Destroya, which is just pure death. Destroya was just like the devil come to life for Godzilla. It was just made from the thing that was created to kill him. Just death incarnate to Godzilla. And this is a monster that Godzilla, even though he beat King Kong, even though he beat King Ghidorah, even though he beat all the other monsters, this monster, he cannot beat him on his own. So who comes and helps him out? Kong shows up. So even though Godzilla was able to beat Kong in a fight, Godzilla will die without Kong's help.
Yeah.
So he needs Kong. He can beat Kong, but he can't survive without Kong. And it's basically going to be like, you can't do this on your own anymore. On your own, fighting me, but there's now something in the world worse than you. There's now something in the world that's more destructive and more powerful than you, and you need my help.
Is Mothra going to be the glue again?
If she survives.
Stop fighting.
Well,
Let's work together.
Well, that could be, that's going to be interesting too, seeing her characterization, how she's played out. But again, I think that could be an interesting way of doing it, because Kong is young. Godzilla's ancient. They've also revealed that, I think they said, like, Godzilla and, like, King Ghidorah in the Bible. Like, apparently Leviathan, that is talked about in the Bible, is Godzilla. And there are references to the devil that are supposed to be King Ghidorah. So these creatures are ancient. Kong is like a young whippersnapper. So Godzilla is so used to just being this
young punks. Get off my lawn.
Yeah, basically. He's Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino. He's used to doing this on his own for centuries because he's only had to. He's never faced a threat this powerful. So now Kong is basically like, listen, I'm the new blood. This is my world too. You need me. You know what I mean? The world used to rely just on you, but now things have changed. Yeah. You need backup now. You need help. So here I am to help. And I think that's how you make Kong useful. You realize that even though Godzilla might be able to beat Kong in a fight, he can't protect the world anymore without Kong's help.
Because Godzilla can beat him, he's like not helpful.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I want it to be a good fight. I don't want it to be just a one-sided thing where it's like this. No. I mean, I want to get my money's worth. I mean, would Kong have been my first choice for a Godzilla movie? No, but he's here regardless, so make it count. But yeah, no. So I think that'd be something interesting. And also too, Godzilla is usually down deep in the Mariana Trench. Whereas I feel like Kong is more. He's newer. He's younger. He's more like, kind of on the ground. So basically, okay, Godzilla is basically guarding the gates of hell. There's these underground openings,
the guardian below.
because there's all this hollow earth theory now, where all these monsters are rising out from the deep. So I figure Godzilla is down there. He's basically, Cerebus. He's the one. He's standing at the gates, keeping them from at bay. But if something gets past him, you got Kong up top, who's kind of ready to go, like, ready to just kind of just knock you back down, and where Godzilla will just pull you back down. So I feel that's how they operate. They work in tandem. It doesn't mean they're buddies, but it's like, okay, you got on high, I got down low.
Want the same thing, essentially.
Essentially. So I think that's why they're going to kind of clash. I think it's going to be kind of just two big alphas that are just kind of be like, no, I'm top dog, no, I am. But ultimately...
And you got the whole, I'm old, I know best. I'm young, it's my world.
Yeah, and I hope they play it up. I hope they had some characterization. You see Kong is younger, he's scrappier, he's more like, yeah, I can do this, and Godzilla's like, bitch, please. You know how long I've been doing this for? So yeah, I kind of want to see Godzilla just kind of,
I kind of picture Godzilla just like after, like, King Kong kind of runs after and is like, I'm gonna help. And Godzilla's like, just don't get in my way.
Yeah, that kind of attitude where it's like, you know, Kong is eager and Godzilla is like, I have to do this by myself. You know? Like, again, Godzilla's like, you know, the last samurai. He's the last of his kind. It's like, it's my destiny, and so be it, I will die in battle. And Kong is like, dude, like, tag me in, you know? Like, I know, I kind of feel like that would be a great way to do it, because that way it wouldn't be like a middle finger to either one, because ultimately Godzilla is bigger and stronger, and I think, and this is also his franchise.
I was gonna say, it's
and I don't really think Toho wanted to lease this character out to them just so he can get, you know, his ass kicked and look like a punk bitch, basically. I know Godzilla's not going to die, because that was part of the agreement they signed, that Godzilla cannot die. But I hope. Well, yeah, but I also hope they did put in there, not only cannot die, we don't want him to kind of look like a loser either. I mean, you guys wanted Godzilla, you got Godzilla, but you have to do right by Godzilla. Yeah. Godzilla's the star of the franchise. It's his franchise. If you guys, you know, wanted to do King Kong and make King Kong the lead, you should have done King Kong. You know, King Kong is connected to Godzilla's franchise.
Because this is technically the second Godzilla movie. It's not like the second Kong movie, so.
Well, it'll be the third Godzilla movie.
Or sorry, third.
Yeah, and this will be the second. I mean, it's the second time we'll see Kong.
But it's not like the second in that franchise.
I guess. Ultimately, I think it's more Godzilla's movie.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Skull Island was meant to set up this iteration of Kong, so when we see him in 2020, it's not like, where the hell did he come from? It's like, okay. I mean, it was a great movie, and it functioned very well on its own, but ultimately.
Again, it's like Marvel, where they have, you know, the individual movies and then Avengers.
But even
the individual movie.
Yeah, but even Marvel has, like, you know, different heroes in different.
Yeah.
This is basically just Godzilla 1, 2, 3, and off to the side you have Kong Skull Island. So when they call it the MonsterVerse, I'm like, I guess kind of, but the only like offshoot movie you have.
Unless they're gonna try to do more eventually.
That's the question, because again, like we said before in the last Cataclysm, that Toho is doing their own cinematic universe starting in 2021. But does that mean that we're not going to have any more MonsterVerse? We don't know. Again, we speculated that a lot of that's going to come down to how well these films do. Because if these films do exceptionally well, Toho's getting some kickback.
Both that have come out so far have done really well.
Yeah.
So.
But again, if these movies like blow up huge, I'm talking like 800 million or more at the box office, Toho gets a percentage of that.
Yeah.
And since they're looking at starting a budding cinematic universe, you know, making some money off that is going to go a very long way to kind of help financing that. So as long as these movies make money, I think they're willing to sign a deal like, okay, we'll keep this going. But at the same time, if Legendary Hope still sign that deal, I mean, we're assuming maybe that might even have already happened. But let's say it hasn't. Let's say they're still waiting and seeing. Well, if you go ahead and make their guy look kind of bad, they might be like, okay, if you've got your 3 movies, we're going to just do our thing. But if Godzilla comes out looking cool still, they'll be like, yeah, let's sign a deal for 2 or 3 more movies. Let's keep that going. We like what you're doing. You've done right by our character. Yeah, you keep making them.
Not to mention, like, for Japan, especially because I'm assuming they'd still be, even if they ended up allowing them to make more movies after here in America, they're still going to do their own thing.
Oh, yeah, they are.
So, for Japan, they get fucking twice the Godzilla, so...
The whole world does.
Well, yeah,
I mean...
But, like, primarily, I mean, that's the thing. I guess I wonder if, for the Toho movies, when they come out, would they be released, like a normal movie over here? Would it be a limited thing?
I think more like it's probably going to be Netflix. I think they're probably going to do it the way they're doing with like the animated films. Because like we said before, it's like, hey, more people are probably going to see... Again, a Japanese-made Godzilla film is not going to appeal to as much of a wider Western audience. Unfortunately, yes, I know, guys. We'd be there opening night at the movie theater, but the average Joe...
But that's what I was saying. So technically for Japan... Both of these movies
are going to be theatrical releases.
Theatrical.
But for us, it's like we said last time, pants or no pants. You stay at home, no pants, watch Netflix, watch a Godzilla movie. Put pants on, go to the movie theater, watch a Godzilla movie. Yeah. So it's in everyone's best interest that, you know, Godzilla still look good, you know. So ultimately I have no problem with King Kong being in this franchise. And I have no problem with him looking awesome and going the distance with the Godzilla fight. Because if you're going to put him in a fight with Godzilla, I want it to be a good fight. I don't want it to be like Godzilla backhands him and Kong's down and that's it. Like, no. Again, I would have rather have seen him fight Anguirus. I would have rather see him fight, you know, Megalon. You know, those are the guys I grew up with. But I get it. King Kong is a bigger box office draw. So be it. With that said, make it an awesome fight. But it's Godzilla, man. I mean, Godzilla's, I think for a lot, Godzilla has evolved over the year. He's not just a evil force of destruction anymore. He has become a lot of people's hero, including mine. So I think there's a great way we can have these guys both inhabit a universe. Again, and the only thing I'll say this now, we'll wrap this up because I'll talk forever about this. But okay, if you're gonna have a situation where Kong technically beat him in the fight, if they did something like a Batman v Superman, where on their own, Batman is just a dude in a flying mammal costume, and Superman is essentially Space Jesus, okay? Superman should win, but Batman wore a special armored suit, and he did like that kryptonite powder that weakened Superman, so it leveled the playing field. So even though Batman beat Superman fans didn't feel cheated because okay, but we all know that if they didn't handicap Superman, Superman would have been like, boink, and Batman would have been like, flying past the moon. If they did something like that where they found a way to like weaken Godzilla, like maybe the Oxygen Destroyer is almost like Godzilla's kryptonite where it weakens him, and then Kong is able to kind of get in there a little bit, like kind of nerf him like they did in '62, but actually work it canon-wise.
Yeah, don't make it dumb.
Don't be like, suddenly he's weak to electricity for no apparent reason.
He developed an allergic reaction.
Yeah, do something. Okay, we managed to weaken Godzilla. Now, Kong, this is your chance. Get in there. Yeah. So even though he beats Godzilla, it's still like he beat him on a technicality. So you can still have the cool visual of Kong punching Godzilla down, whereas Godzilla fans will not feel like, I guess Kong is... That's one way you could do it.
Yeah.
But I think realistically...
the humans develop something to try to give to Godzilla
to weaken him.
That weakens him, and then Kong takes advantage of it, and then...
Yeah, and then ultimately I still think it should pan out the same way where they have to team up. Or then, Kong weakens Godzilla, and Godzilla's kind of down and out for a while, and then Kong has to go fight this big bad and realize that he's not strong enough, and then Godzilla rises out of the ocean all charged up.
Remember me?
Yeah, and then helps Kong, and they realize that they need each other. That if they're going to protect this world...
The power of friendship.
Yeah. Godzilla realizes he needs to start passing on the reins to somebody younger, too, and the somebody younger needs to learn from somebody who's been doing this for a long time. And they both kind of have a mutual respect for one another.
Gosh, I can't wait for this movie.
I think that's the right way to do it. I think there is a way to kind of please both sides, and so I hope that's what they do. I hope they don't just be like, well, one's got to win. Godzilla has scales. King Kong has fur. I guess Kong has to win because, like I said, apparently people can relate to a 150-foot ape. I can't, but I guess maybe I'm the only one.
You would think you could.
You would think I could, but I'm like, hey, if a guy that looks like me can't relate to King Kong, none of you fucking can. You hear me? But anyway, ultimately, I'm looking forward to this movie. I know you are. I think it's going to be a great time at the movies. And again, it's great to see that in 2020, we're going to see a movie where Godzilla and King Kong fight on the big screen. And it's going to be a movie that everyone's going to be talking about. Mainstream audiences, not just hardcore fan, but like everyone's going to be talking. We live in an age where people are going to be talking about these guys like a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And when Marvel fans started seeing their stuff go mainstream and how surreal it must have felt for you guys to hear people talking about heroes that normally would only be in your little circle of friends, and now people's aunts and uncles are talking about, Black Panther. Like, that's so crazy that we live in this day and age. I'm looking forward to a day and age where people are talking about King Ghidorah and Rodan, at the supermarket. I'm looking forward to walking by the checkout line and seeing the Blu-ray for sale, on a shelf at a major chain with Mothra on the cover. That's going to be so...
Seeing little kids be like, I want the King Ghidorah toy!
Yeah, that's going to be so awesome. And the same thing, hey, Godzilla versus King Kong. We've always talked about that fight, and now there's going to be a new one. So it's a good time to be alive, and even though, yes, we have our reservations, and we hope that, we're Team G, so obviously we hope he ultimately beats the guy on top. Most importantly, we just hope it's a really, really good movie that's a lot of fun and does both these characters justice.
Sorry, I'm dying now.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll wrap it up because we could talk about this for hours. I could talk about this for hours. She could do with me shutting up about it. So I'll do her and all of you a favor. We'll close this one up. But yeah, guys, we're going to be talking a lot more about these movies. We wanted to wait to talk about this one because we wanted to wait for like a plot synopsis to really go, because all we really knew was that, well, at some point a big radioactive dinosaur is going to fight a big ape. And that was all we really knew. So now that we got some plot stuff, that's like, okay, we can kind of sink our teeth into something more. And I'm sure as the Godzilla hype train, really gets going, there's going to be plenty more to talk about, and we will be doing so here. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace!
Peace.